everyone. All right, so last lesson we were looking at slope. We saw how to find the slope of different lines by looking at the m. So you're giving a linear equation and it says y equals mx plus b. We looked at how far up and over the line was going. So how far up and over a line was going. We saw that when we did some graphing, lines that started down here and went up this direction, when they go up, have a positive slope. So that means that their m is positive. We also saw that lines that started here and went down that direction, these ones have a negative slope. So like example of -1 over 2. This one is like a positive 1 over 2. Okay, so we have a positive versus a negative. This one's going up the mountain. This one is going down the mountain. But today we're going to look at horizontal and vertical lines. So what happens when we have horizontal and vertical lines? So let's take a look at what happens to their slope. So let's say that we have example A, and in example A, we have a line that looks like this. Okay, so we have a graph, and our graph has two different points. It looks like it has an x of 5. What does this one say? When y is 5. Okay, so it says when y is 5. And the first point that we have is -1, 5. So we're going to go over to -1 and up to a +5. So -1, 5. And the other point is 6, 5. So over 6, and again, up 5. So we're going to 6, 5. This creates a line that is horizontal. Okay, so this creates a line that is horizontal. It's crossing at y equals 5. And because it crosses at y equals 5, your line is straight because it includes, again, all of these x values. So we're going to use the formula today to solve for the slope of this line. And if you remember the formula from our last lesson, it said m, so the slope, m is the slope, it equals both of your y values, so y2 minus y value 1 over x2 minus x1. So point number 1. So if we're looking at point number 1, we have, or point number 2, we have 5 for the y. Let's go ahead and use this. So y2, so this is the same as saying 5 minus 5 over point number 2x, which is 6, and point number 1, so this is point 2, this is point 1, minus -1. This gives us 0 over 7. So we don't go anywhere. Okay, there is no rise, there's only running back and forth. So if you remember, this is rise over run. There is no running. There is no rising. The line does not go up like a positive slope or down like a negative slope. It only goes back and forth with 0 here. So 0 over 7. So nothing out of 7 is the same thing as saying the slope is 0. Okay, so our slope is 0. Okay, so that is our first slope. Now let's look at one that would look like this, example B. So let's say in example B, I have another graph that looks like this, but this time my points are at 4, 6, and 4, 2. So I'm going to go over 4 and up 2. So there's 1 dot. So there's 4, 2. And my next dot is 4, 6. So again, I'm going to go over to 4, and I am going up to 6, right about there. And so this one is 4, 6. Again, you can graph these right on top of your line or your graph paper, these grid papers if you want, or you can save them, your choice. Okay, so this line also, because the values here are the same, it does not have any slope to it. So let's look at this one. So this one is a vertical line that just goes straight up and down. So again, we're going to use rise over run, just like we did in our last lesson. We're going to look at m equals y2 minus y1. So the first point minus the second point over x minus 2, x2 minus x1. And we're going to solve now for the different points here. So our first thing that we're going to look at is the second point we graphed, which was 6. So 6 and 2, so 6 minus 2. And then on the bottom, we have 4 minus 4. Well, 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. You cannot divide 4 into 0 pieces. Like, you just can't divide a number by 0. When you do, you get a number that it's undefined. So, because you cannot divide a number by 0, the slope here is unknown or undefined. So we just call this slope is undefined. We don't know what it is. It's not leaning, it's not negative, it's not positive, it's not 0, it's undefined. Because when we subtract we got 4, and we divided, we got 4 divided by 0, and that's undefined. We don't know what that is. Okay, we're going to do another one so that we can look at division one more time. Okay, so this example, I'm not going to draw a graph on this one. I'm just going to give you the ordered pairs. So in this example, we just have some ordered pairs. Our first point that we're going to look at is going to be -3. Oh no, I'm sorry, -2, -3, and then the second dot that we have, or the second point, the second ordered pair is 3, -3. Okay, so we can determine what type of slope this is going to have based on what we get when we do y1 and y2. So we're going to subtract, starting with our y values. So we're going to have -3 minus a -3. And then on the bottom, we're going to do the x and the y. So, the x and the x. So we're going to do so we have -3, -3, and we have a -3 and a -3. So here's y2 minus y1. All right, now we're going to look at the x values. Here's x2. So x2 is 3. And we need to subtract that from x1, which is -2. So minus x1. And now we're going to solve both of these. So 3 minus -2, that is going to give us 5. And -3 minus -3 gives us 0. All right, so when you are, because it's like adding again. So -3 plus a 3 gives you 0, and 0 divided by 5. So if we have nothing and we divide it, our slope is still nothing. So because it has the 0 on the top, the slope is 0. When the slope is on the bottom, the slope is undefined. So let's do one more example of when we just have the ordered pairs, so that way you can see how to look at those when there's just the ordered pairs. Okay. So this one says, again, we have -2, 3, and then we also have another one is -2, -1. Those are our ordered pairs. Again, we're going to set this up so that we have y's going first. So -1 minus 3. And then on the bottom, you have -2 minus a -2. Well, that's 0 on the bottom. And you have -1 and you subtract 3 more. That gives you -4. Well, -4 divided by 0, we can't do that. So this slope is undefined because we can't tell you whether it's positive, negative, or 0 because you cannot divide -4 into 0 pieces. You just can't. You can't do that math. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some coordinates, and you can choose to either graph them and then solve, or you can choose to subtract, just like how we did in the second examples. So our first try it, that I have for you, it says 1, -2 is the first point, and the second point is 7, -2. Okay, so that's the first set of coordinates. The second set of coordinates that I have are -3, -3, and then -3, -5. All right, so your job is to go ahead and graph and solve, or just solve. I will probably do one of each for you, or maybe I'll just do both. That's fine. I think I'll do both. But I would like for you to please make sure that you pause your video right now so you don't hear me solving, and then you can come back. All right, so in this first one that we have, I'm gonna draw my line right here and draw the line right there. So that way we have our axes. Your axes are already drawn for you. All right, 1, negative 2. So I'm going to go over 1, down 2, 1, 2. Put a dot. This is 1, negative 2. All right, my next one is 7, negative 2. So I'm going to go over 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and down negative 2, 1, 2. So again, on this line, it looks like my slope is horizontal. So I have a horizontal line, and a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Because when you subtract, when you take your y values first and you subtract negative 2 minus a negative 2 on the top, and on the bottom you have 7 minus 1, you get 0 over 6. And so this one has a slope of 0. Okay, so that's our first one. It has a slope of 0. All right, now let's look at this. We're going to look at this one, and we're going to see about the slope of these 2 points. All right, so I'm going to go ahead here, and again, I'm going to draw my axes because I don't have any. Your graph paper does. All right, so negative 3 is 0.1. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3 and down 1, 2, 3, put a dot. And that one is negative 3, negative 3. Okay, and my next one I'm doing is negative 3, negative 5. So I'm going to go over to negative 3 and down to negative 5. So there's 3, 4. Oh man, I put the coordinate right there. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my line. And my line happens to go straight up and down vertical. And we know from our practice that that means that this line here, again, has no slope, but the slope is undefined. So when I sit here and I subtract negative 3 and negative 5 first, so I have negative 5 minus a negative 3, and then on the bottom I have negative 3 minus negative 3. That means that my bottom number is 0. My top number, I have negative 5, I remove negative 3, so that gives me negative 2. That means this slope is undefined. You actually don't even need to solve these ones. With these ones, if it creates a horizontal line like this, the slope is just going to be 0. If your line goes up and down vertically, your slope is undefined. If you can see the pattern where these two numbers, your y values are the same, it's a slope of 0. If your x values are the same, it's an undefined slope. So you can use that idea to help you know about finding the slope of horizontal and vertical lines. So you can just look at the x values or look at the y values and see if they are the same and how the slope will be. So horizontal line, like this one, has a slope of 0. Vertical up and down has an undefined slope. So you can go ahead and add that into your notes if you would like. If you have any questions, come on back to the Google Meet and ask me for help. Or you can go to big ideas and start working on your practice work. Thank you so much for all your hard work and effort today. I sure appreciate you, and make it a great day.